Good morning. We had some rain this weekend. 0.84 it says. The old weather station right there. So it's a little wet today to do anything, I think. Some chances of rain. It's not a very nice day out. It's cooled off considerably since last week. So we're finding other things to do today. Phil is hauling some corn and going to get the dryer fired up. We've got some wet corn from Saturday sitting around yet. So we'll get that worked through. I think I'm going to work on my man lift a little bit later. We're doing some office work this morning. I found something interesting. So those cornfields we were working on last week, we hauled all that stuff right into town. And so we have all of these tickets from that. And Phil keeps very detailed notes on what loads came from what fields. And so I'm kind of matching that up with the truckloads from the scale on the grain cart, right? And we're post-calibrating some fields. And so it just went through and added them up for the second field that we did down there. And when I add up these are the fields, right? So this one is the one we're working on, 21.5 east of the lane. The grain cart said we had 168,357 pounds. When I add up the scale tickets, 168,358 pounds. It was off by 1 pound. That's incredible. Now, you may wonder, if you deal with this stuff at all, you know that elevator scales are in 20-pound increments, not 1 pound increments. So how did we get to that number? Well, we had a couple of split loads that I had to use the grain cart weight from. But still, like, that is remarkably close. That's really good. Now, when I pull up the combine data on the same field, it shows 166,362. So we were 2,000 pounds light on the combine, which makes the deal a little bit better. So that's good. All right. Well, I got those fields all calibrated and stuff. Grain cart versus elevator scale tickets on approximately 2.4 million pounds of grain was off by 2,500 pounds. The cart was a little bit low, 2,500 pounds. That's very, very close. Let me see, what percent is that? 2,500 divided by 4.43 million. 0.00056. That's pretty close. Okay. Yeah, that Agromatics Libra system, she's real nice. Super accurate. I like that a lot. Other findings from that group of fields. You'll remember, maybe, that we had, let's see, there was 3, 5, and 3. There was 8 different fields there in that one farm. 3 of them were kind of around the corner, but kind of butted up to each other in the back. But they were corn on corn, corn back to corn. And I get this comment a lot about going corn on corn for rotation for breaking disease cycle, like white mold and soybeans and stuff like that. And why don't we do more of that? Because I know out west in Illinois and Iowa, they can run corn on corn and do really well with it. Well, I'm not attributing this all to the corn on corn because our weed control was not great on those fields. But that may be due to the fact that it was not the same rotation that we normally do. But those 3 fields were 35 bushel an acre less than the other 5 fields that were not corn on corn and were rotated acres. So that's why we don't do a lot of that, because it yields really poorly. At least it did this year. So now I feel like that's an extreme number. Usually it's not that much of a difference, but 35 bushel is enough to make you not want to do any corn on corn again for a while. Now, let's try and be a little productive today. I got this man lift all put back together. Well, I shouldn't say all put back together. We got some shielding to put on and stuff yet. But I want to wash it before I do a lot of that. And before I put this big piece back on, I want to wash this because there's a lot of oil from our oil leak that got all over everything. Clean up this channel, get the top of it cleaned off a little bit. That side's not so bad. Down here, it's got a bunch of crap on it. Just dirt and stuff that I think we can clean up. So we're going to kind of walk it outside a little bit, get the new power washer hooked up, and do some washing on this a little bit at a time. We're going to clean it up a little bit at a time. Fix it up a little bit at a time, right? So we got an oil leak fixed. I'm going to work on the swing control up there and try and get that fixed at some point. Eventually we'll do some cosmetic stuff, but it works perfectly fine, so we don't need to get too carried away on a cheap man lift that we've already gotten lots of value out of. I had a couple of clamps and zip ties I wanted to put back on from that new hose that we ran up here. So I got that done. I need to go down underneath, and the new hose is a little longer than the old hose, and I gotta find somewhere to put the extra. I guess that will work. We just got this extra loop instead of being up here with this orange one. Oh well. All right. Now we can move it outside. All right, well, that's better. That power washer is nice. It gets plenty hot though. There was times when I was grabbing the metal part of the wand and noticed my glove sticking because it was melting the rubber coating on my glove. So now that's dirty. Whoops. All right, I need to drag the cover piece out, wash the inside of that off real quick. And then I want to start retracting it in. I want to put it on and start retracting it in so I can get to the basket and stuff without being in the shop quite so much. But it's not bad. It's getting better. All right. I got that shield put back on. All tightened up. I got this one put on. I just got to tighten the bolts down. I'm done washing on it. I think we are good to go for now. Anyway, so I'm gonna retract the boom back in, throw it back in the shop for now, and we'll clean up our concrete maybe here a little bit. It's lunchtime though, so I'm gonna go do that. Also, I broke the straps on my bibs. The buttons both popped off, so they're junk now. I managed to tie it around the neck so that I can finish without getting soaked, but time for a new power washing suit. Well, before we do that, it's better go out here and check the dryer real quick. Just make sure everything looks good. Still said the moisture was reading really high on the outlet when he first started it up, but then it went back to normal pretty quick. So I just want to check, make sure it looks right with that new moisture sensor in there. Oh yeah, 13.5. We're overdoing it. That controller will automatically adjust the dryer, basically speed up how fast the corn moves through it in order to bring that moisture back up to our target. Now, our target, in my opinion, is way too low. We are drying that corn down to 14% because it's going in a bin and we're storing it. I think that is too dry, but we don't ever have storage issues and corn going out of condition or getting moldy or building up in the bin, bridging up, we've never had any issues, but we do dry grain significantly more than necessary, in my opinion. Back from lunch, got our concrete all cleaned up. Looks good. It's faster, more gallons per minute. It's faster to clean stuff. Imagine that. It's magic how that works. So, while I was cleaning there, I was realizing that maybe I should grease this thing. I don't know that there's a ton of grease zerks, but I found a couple on the tie rods at least, there and there. So maybe we'll do that while it's in the shop here. Just kind of go through stuff a little bit. I don't know if there's any on these pivots down here or not. But yeah, it's good. It's all good. It works just fine. Put everything on the dryer again. All running good. Before we started this year, I put some felt pads behind those big metal pieces there. They're baffles to kind of slow the airflow down a little bit. But they clank back and forth because they're not attached at the top, and so I put some felt pads in behind them. Like, see how that one's vibrating? Keeps them from clanking around. They're much quieter. It's nice. So, looks like we got 2 lights on our wet bin, so we've got a little bit of wet corn, but not a huge amount. We should get it dried today. For those of you that haven't been around for a couple years now, I put this system on our bin here. We've got a switch to turn on. There's a power supply, 12-volt power supply inside that box that feeds my proximity sensors that I have right here. That I drilled a hole through the bin wall, put a proximity sensor in there, and then attached it to a light that there's 5 of them on there. And we can pretty quickly get a good idea how much corn is in that bin based on how many of those lights are on and where they're at to the proximity sensor. Pretty cool system. That is a homemade deal that I made. I have seen a company that sells something similar, but I pieced this one together myself, much cheaper than the one they sell. So the proximity sensors, you just need a capacitive proximity sensor, not an induction one, because you're not sensing a metallic object. You're sensing corn, and then just some lights and power supply and wire it up. I have a whole nother set of them that I intend to put on this bin. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. It would actually kind of be nice to have something other than those lights up there, or something that would be a little I've seen some systems that use like sonar to kind of tell how full a bin is, and it can detect whether it's coned down or coned up and tell you approximately how many bushels are actually in there. A little bit more sophisticated system. My only question is I don't know how well it would work with the dust, so I might look into that a little bit more at some point. But yeah, it's a good system. It works well. So it's still over dried, but it's speeding up. We're putting out almost 800 bushel an hour. Should keep going up from there, I would think. But yeah, all is good here. So I have to figure out what my priorities are and what to do next. I got my new license plate for my trailer here, so I want to go ahead and get that installed while we've got some time today. I also am done with that conveyor, so we're going to drag that back to the farm, put it in the barn down there where it goes, because I don't need it in here. We can clean up some boxes, and I should clean up a treater. I don't know if we'll get to that today or not, but it should be done. There. Anybody want to buy a used truck auger? I don't know how long it is. We used to use that red auger for filling trucks out of the bins where we don't have a hook to the leg. We don't use it anymore. Now we use this conveyor. Apparently it doesn't have a motor, but it used to. Anyway, I'd sell it. We don't use it anymore. Got my conveyor out of here, so I decided it's time to winterize the boat, which basically means running the engines to get the water out of them, and then pulling these 2 plugs here, which they don't always like to come out. Yeah, we'll get it. And pull the drain plug, I suppose. Now, the trick is not losing this. I'm thinking about taking my boat to put it in the barn at Berkey, because I could use the room in here. I think this would be a great spot to park either a man lift or a gooseneck trailer and get rid of all this crap. Get rid of all this crap. But I noticed we got a flat tire. Huh. I have not had a flat tire on this boat trailer since I bought it. In fact, I don't even really put air in these tires because they never need it. They hold air so good. But it's flat, so we'll have to fix that before we do anything. Okay. Do you guys remember way back in the spring when we were planting corn, or just after we planted corn, I guess, out here? We did some emergence testing or flagging. You guys remember that? Where I came out every night and we looked at the corn to see what plants had emerged and which ones hadn't, and we put flags in. This particular field had outstanding emergence, like better than I would have expected, because basically every plant emerged within 24 hours. We had most of them day 1, and I think there was 2 plants that came up on day 2 and 1 that never came in a 1/1000th of an acre, 17 feet 5 inches. I put little flags in, green and blue flags, to mark those locations. And the idea is that you come back right before harvest, you pull all those ears and you kind of lay them out and see the difference in the sizing of the ears. Now, I don't think we're going to see a whole lot because it was 1 day difference. We basically got them in 24 hours. Call it 48 if you want, but basically 24. Had we had some stragglers and some late stuff, I think we would have seen a lot more. And if I would have done this on the early planted corn instead of the late planted corn, we probably would have had better results. But let's go pull all those ears, put them in a bucket. We'll take them, husk them out, lay them out where I can look at them and see if we can see anything out of it.
Right here's our flags. Oh, there's 3 blue, 4. Okay, we got a few blue ones, more than I remember. So, what were the blue? I think the blue is day 2. It says on the flag. Day 2. Green is day 1. So, what I'm going to do is go through and pull every ear on a plant that has a green flag next to it. Put them in the bucket. All right, there is all of our day 1 ears. Now we're going to go through and pull the day 2 ears, the blue flags, and I'm going to shuck them so that they don't have any husks on them. That way we can tell them apart. Because we don't have any day 3, 4, or 5, so that'll give us the rest. 6. There were 6 day 2 ears. So, all right, that's all of the ears from our 1/1000th of an acre. We'll take them back up to the seed warehouse and lay them out and look at them up there. I'm going to pull these flags, get them out of here while in here. Otherwise, it won't happen. There's our old orange stalk. I think we destroyed that a while ago. There's our bucket. All right, I'm going to... I got to husk the rest of those. I'm going to make a mess in here. I'll go find my trash can or something to throw those husks in. But we're going to lay these all out here. I'm going to arrange them, all of the day 2s in the second row, all of the day 1s in the first row. We will arrange them by size and make a nice pretty display. Well, quite frankly, that's more of a result than I thought we would see. This is interesting. Okay, so the top row is all of our day 1 emergers, and they're fairly consistent, but not totally, right? I got the biggest ones down here, and they just kind of, we got a few that are really nice, and then we taper down a little bit, and they're consistent, and then we got some stragglers on the end and one really poor one, okay? But how many ears do we got there? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26. So we had 26 day 1 emergers. We had 2, 4, 6 day 2 emergers, and we can see it's the same thing, except for we got 3 of them out of the 6, so half, that are not as good of an ear. And when I compare this ear to that ear, this one is just a touch smaller, but it kind of fits in between those last 2 there. So those 3 are very comparable to these 4 down here. And yeah. Now, had we had some day 3s and day 4s, I think you would see a lot more of that and smaller all the way through. And so the more we can get in day 1, obviously, the better. Now, none of these ears are super impressive. Like, I mean, this is good corn. It's not fantastic corn. It's not going to be great by any means, but it's interesting to kind of see that. And we do have some really good ones here from day 2 as well, right? Those first 3 are still pretty nice ears that they kind of fit right in the middle of this top row up there. So everything within 2 days, yeah, we're going to be okay. It's not bad. I really wish that we would have, no, I don't, all right? I don't wish that we would have had some late emergers. I wish we would be able to see some late emergers to see what that did. So next year, I'll make a more conscious effort to try and do this with some of the early planted corn that typically has more of a extended emergence window, and maybe we'll see something more out of that. But the quicker we can get stuff to come out of the ground, the more even, the better. And we've known that for a long time, but this is just kind of a way to visualize it. So how do we get good, even emergence? Well, it all starts with the planter. You have to have your planter set up to do a good job. Every row has to be consistent. Every seed has to be consistent within the row. I mean, we have to be doing a good job with that. We need good starter program to get them to get into that fertilizer, get them off to a fast start. Things like you're planting into moisture into depth, getting the right seed depth that are good closing wheels that are getting all the air away from the seed and good seed to soil contact. That kind of stuff all matters when we're talking about emergence. And also ground conditions, environment, temperatures, all of those things are important too. I can't really control much of that though. I mean, to an extent you can, right? But it delays your planting. And what I'm already seeing from the little bit of corn that we've harvested is the late planted corn is much wetter and much crappier test weight, lighter test weight than the early planted corn. So the advantages to planting early still outweigh the potential negative of slightly uneven emergence, in my mind. But more will be learned here as we go through the fall. I got a little painting project going on over here. Some trim for my house. Got some primer sprayed down. I need to sand them all. I got started with it, but I got a lot to do yet. Sand them all down and put some finish trim enamel on. We're getting there. I'm working on that. That's my weekend project. Did want to show you this though. I bought this. So I got this new trailer, right? Obviously we're going to be hauling lots of seed on it, lots of boxes, full and empties, and we got to strap those boxes down. I can use ratchet straps. That's what I've always done. They're kind of a pain in the butt though. So I found this thing. It's a pocket winch, and it fits down into the stake pocket here. Let's see if I can get it out of there. It's sort of heavy. But it's got this hook that's sort of spring-loaded. And so you set it in there, it latches in, and then it hooks. And you can't get it out unless you push the little button on the back there. But then you put your winch in there and you start turning, and this one is fancy. If I can do it with one hand, it ratchets. So you don't have to keep taking your bar out to tighten them. So then we don't have to use the ratchet side and have to deal with tails. So what I want to do, I'm going to buy some more. I bought this one because I'm like, I think it'll work, but I'm not sure until I figure it out. It will work. It's going to be great. So what I need to do is get like 4 or 5 more of them and get some straps. And then I want to set 2 boxes on, or maybe 4 boxes empty, stacked like those 2 are. That way I can tell, because those are just taller than an upright box, and 2 of those side by side is the tallest thing that I'll haul on here regularly. Get some straps and get them cut to just the right length for that, so that we don't have extra tails. It all wraps up on there. Oh, it's going to be nice. I also need to start getting some insulation hung up in here. I would like to work on that and do it. I got the man lift back so we can get it down here and do some, but those purlins up there are 2 foot on center. I can get some 2 foot rolls of bat insulation, fiberglass bats, and stick them in there, and eventually we'll get some steel and put on the bottom, and it'll be nice. But insulating the roof would make a world of difference in heating this building and what it takes. So I think I'll start working on that sometime here after harvest or as we get these rain delays. But I got to figure out where to get some insulation. Best place to get 2 foot bats of fiberglass. Those are 2x8s in the ceiling, so I'd like to get some thick stuff that would give me a little better R value, but see what we can find, right? Just kind of all over the place today. Back in the office. It's warm in here, so it's kind of nice. But do you guys remember a few weeks ago when we pulled those soil samples for this pattern ag deal? Where they do this soil analysis, analyzing the DNA in the soil to predict what kind of pathogens and disease pressures and bugs and stuff like that we might have in the future. I got the results back from those. We're screwed. Basically, it says, you're screwed. But let me show you. So we did 2 different farms so far. We're going to do a couple more. But this one here, this top row, is the field that had all the white mold in it up here that I sampled one day. Yeah. The other one is a wheat field from Berkey. There was a 40-acre piece that we had done down there that I pulled some samples from. And so we're going to just kind of go through this here a little bit. I'll show you what they do. It's cool. It's cool, but it's not good. Rootworm, none detected. That's what ND means, none detected. That's good. Okay, so we don't have rootworm pressure, which means I don't have to be super worried about having rootworm traded corn. I know this. I know that we don't have a ton of rootworm pressure. I'm surprised that it's none detected, because usually we have some. It's just not real heavy. But
good either way. Anthracnose of corn. That is a stalk rot mostly that we can get in corn. Heavy in this field, none at Berkey. Okay, good to know. Gibberella stalk rot, another rot that we get in corn that can affect standability. Super heavy down to our Berkey farm and moderate here at Waldron, at the field that we tested. Yep, okay, that's not good. Corn and soybean pathogens. Fusarium, moderate to light. Okay, Pythium, heavy. Rhizoctonia, heavy to none. Okay, or light, I should say, not none. Soybean pathogens, we're screwed. We're just screwed. Soybean cyst nematode pressure is very light. I suspected that we don't have very much soybean cyst nematode. That is typical for our soils. Sudden death syndrome. Some areas fight this really bad. We have light pressure here at Waldron, moderate, with low moderate, I would call it, at Berkey. That lines up with what I see as far as in the fields and stuff. I don't see a ton of SDS here. Occasionally we get it at Berkey. This year I know some of the guys down there had it bad. We did not in our soybeans. Soybean stem canker. Couldn't tell you what that one is, but apparently we had it real bad, or we can have the potential to get it really bad and moderate. Soybean brown stem rot. Did not see any of that in our field this year. I did see some in the area. Some of my customers had some that I saw, so yep, not surprised to see that there's at least potential. White mold. Now, this is a beta. I don't know what the beta means, but boom, off the chart. That is the field that was full of it. Berkey, none detected. Now, that was a wheat field, so maybe that's why none was detected. But, yeah, off the charts here. Phytophthora on both fields, super heavy. I know that is something that we fight. That's why we use seed treatments, because they're very effective against Phytophthora, and also Fusarium and Pythium and Rhizoctonia and these things. That's what our seed treatments are for. Charcoal rot. Yep, apparently we have that down to Berkey. I don't know that I've ever seen that, but yeah. So that is kind of the disease pathogens. And then we can scroll down here. This is foliar pathogens that we could potentially get. Gray leaf spot, none detected. Surprising to me. Now, these were bean and wheat fields. We're going to do a cornfield. We just haven't harvested the corn yet, so that'll be interesting to see if that changes there. Goss's wilt, very light. We don't fight that in the east. Northern cornleaf blight. Yep, we get that. We get that bad. Tar spot, none detected. Also interesting to me, and curious if that is because it was not cornfields this year. So Diplodia ear rot, I've seen lots of that in the past and even some this year. So, yep, not surprised to see that. Bacterial leaf streak on corn. I have seen bacterial leaf streak in the past. Now, that's something that I don't worry too much about on the yield, but it's there. Anthracnose of soybeans, high here at Waldron, low at Berkey. Cispora, Cirrosopora, something like that. Blight in soybeans, I have seen that. Frog eye leaf spot, none detected. Again, we're too far north for that one. And then we can go into some of the nutrient analysis that was done. Nitrogen levels are low. We don't put nitrogen on these fields. That's good. I don't want there to be nitrogen in the fall. I want it to be there in the spring. So I'm not upset to see that. Phosphorus levels are good. Potassium levels at Berkey Farm was good. At Waldron Farm was low. However, we did spread fertilizer there after this one was sampled. This field, it was spread before it was sampled, so that could affect the results some. Calcium was good. Magnesium is good. pHs were good. They did not test organic matter for some reason. Oh, and awaiting results. Don't have the results back yet on that one, so we're still waiting for them. CECs, those are averages, and I have all of these. They break them out by zones because we sampled multiple samples on each field, right? So we can get a little bit more dialed in. Our micronutrients, pretty much all good except for the sulfur down here, but we know we can't build sulfur really in the soil, so that's something that we add later. All right, well, I think that's going to be it for today. Not a super productive day, but not terrible. We got some stuff done, got some things figured out, got some corn dried and hauled. It's good. So I think we can shell tomorrow. I hear one of the neighbors is out today. The sun didn't come out tonight. Not that that matters a whole lot, but it's had time to soak in, so we'll try it. We'll try it probably. We're gonna do that field in the back there. I think next, same hybrid. Planted the next day. It should be just as dry. We got a lot of stuff that's close. And close is good, because, yeah, we don't have to go on the road with the equipment. We can park the trucks on the road in the back, though, so we can not have to mud stuff out, and should be Should be a productive day. Dad said he's around. He can run combine. I'll probably be in the cart. Brock's not around tomorrow, but maybe on Wednesday. So I should look at the weather again, but the weather is kind of cleared for the week. Looks like we should have another good week and get a lot shelled. If the corn is all below 25, and especially down in the low 20s, like it was on Saturday there, we're not going to be waiting on the dryer as much as I had thought. I am thinking that the warm weather we had last week when we were doing some corn and finishing up the beans really dried this corn down. Like I think we took 4 or 5 points of moisture out of this corn in a week last week, and that is huge for us, especially for the end of October, to be able to get it to dry that like that. So Thanksgiving is still probably out of the question, but we're at least going to get done a lot faster than I had feared at one point. So thanks for watching today. If you have any questions, comments, leave them down below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and like the video if you would for me. Don't forget you can get your Border View Farms merch over at farmfocused.com, or you can go to borderviewfarms.com and find that there as well. Oh, I didn't get it done today, but I do have my soybean plot results back. I'm going to get them posted to my website. I'll try and put a link when I do. It won't be in this video, but yeah, xlseeds.com. You can find all of my plot data after I post it. Last year's stuff is there, but I'll post it as soon as I get a chance. Have a great night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.